Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is when you're choosing to watch the week 2 recap for RPL. And again, just like last week, we'll be debating some topics here with you, the viewer, which we would love to see you chime in about and give us your thoughts on it. And part of this will also be previewing the third week of racing in the brand new seasons. So, just like last week, let's start with Tier 3 first before anything else. Tier 3 was our first race of the weekend at China. Tier 3 and Tier 2 both were at China. Tier 3, we had Lyral Fusion end up extending his championship lead and Devin win the race. I want to talk about Fusion first. And the debate there now is, will Fusion now be the title favorite? And my answer is yes. It seems like, although he's not the fastest in these races, he seems to be the most consistent. He's not someone we're arguing about maybe moving up a tier, but he is somebody that continues his good stride. And hopefully, for Fusion's case, he can continue that in Baku, this next race. I think based on what we saw in the first two races, Fusion's consistency is going to earn him the title regardless of if he's the fastest or not the fastest driver in our field. The thing that helps him out is the fact that he has a teammate who hasn't really come to blows with him or anything else. So for Fusion's case, it seems like a career revival in a way, because it was Ferrari when he was teammates with Polo and a few others, I think, at some point during season 13 maybe of Tier 2, or I feel like it was, that he just was not getting the results and not staying consistent. Last season in Tier 2, or Tier 3, excuse me, when he did the race in Haas, at Spa, a race in Sauber at Brazil, it seems like races like those, it showed that the consistency is back where it needs to be for Fusion, and that he is really the title favorite. I will say that 100%, but I'm curious to know what you guys think. And as always, we're now going to go to our second debate topic for the tiers, and our last one. The question here is, should Alex Norris, Devin, and or F1 Shorts move up a tier? Now, Alex Norris has taken race 1 pole and race 2 pole, but he's not been as fast as he should be in the races. Does race pace really matter when your potential is probably the victory in both races? Yes and no. Race pace is understandably an argument for this matter, but for Alex Norris's case, he won in a V-carb at Brazil. Now that race was chaotic, and Tier 3 we've seen things happen out of the ordinary, but the fact that he's gone to Ferrari and been on pole twice now, and by a combined 7, 8, 10th margin in this tier, I can understand him maybe being too fast for the tier. But the problem is, in RPL, there's always been this debate of, should people get moved up mid-season or not? It's happened before in Tier 2, and it even happened last season with Lennon. Look, Baku will find out. But in the Tier 2 race, Alex Norris finished in the points for Haas. Probably not a car that should be in the points in Tier 2. But it was a calm race. It's not like it was a chaotic race that allowed that to happen, like his V-carb win in Brazil. That's why I don't think you can judge his V-carb win in Brazil for that. But I understand why some would look at that. Alex Norris, maybe a little too fast for the tier. Devin, he was in a Sauber last season and qualified really well at Brazil. I think in the sprint qualifying, he put that car in the front row. He won from P19. Was the win a little lucky? Yes. No. You could debate that all you want, but we've only seen one race from him, whereas Alex Norris, we've seen multiple races from that guy. And F1 Shorts has put in a lot of practice, and it seems like overnight he's went from middle of Tier 3 to bottom end of Tier 2 pace. Like I mentioned prior, his potential is like Lando Norris early in his career, and even this year in Formula 1, but he cannot finish the deal. And that's because his setups he keeps using are setups that are not meant for the race. They're practically time trial setups, which is why you see him over the course of one lap do great, and then in Bahrain, he had about 4 or 5 notable mistakes, causing him to slot down the grid. So, of course, F1 Shorts' potential is probably similar to what Alex Norris's is, but again, not always getting the results. F1 Shorts has finished in the points, I believe, 4 or 5 times in a row, all in cars that should not be in the points, but again, it's tier 3. Haas, Sauber, yeah. He's got a lot of potential, that young kid, but he's got to maximize it. If Alex Norris does get moved up due to Egg, the tier coordinator, allowing that to happen, I'm sure F1 Shorts will go to Ferrari, and then we'll find out. But I want to kind of really decide for myself, based on my own opinion, after Baku, if these 3 are too fast to move up a tier and not supposed to be in tier 3 at all. We'll find out then in Baku. With that being said, which is this week's tier 3 race. So I want your guys' thoughts on that. Are those 3 too fast for the tier? Devin, Alex Norris, F1 Shorts. Now time to go to tier 2, where George won the race, and now the other question about moving up a tier is going to go to his name. Race there this week in tier 2 is Portugal, the 150th tier 2 race. George Williams got the chance to race in tier 1 McLaren in Jeddah. Now we get to see, is he a car merchant or is he too fast for the tier? I think he's bottom end of tier 1, but just fast enough for tier 2. He's doing the exact same thing Owen is doing from season 11 in the Mercedes. The difference for George now is that George has the fastest car, and he's doing exactly what Owen has done. So really, you can't tell if he's quote-unquote too fast for the tier or not. And there's a lot of these races where George has not been the fastest car. He's not even got pole a lot of the times. I think only 3 times since returning he's gotten pole, compared to 7 of the 9 races he's won. But for George's case, though, the DRS trains just allow him to stay in these races. I mean, barring Qatar. And I'm not saying he's undeserving of any of these victories. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying he's not the fastest guy in these races, but he's winning because of 2 things. He's got the fastest car and he takes advantage of it. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but he is the smartest driver on this grid. I mean, he didn't race Monaco too well in the tier 1 race, I'll say that. But when it matters for George, he literally does everything possible to win. And he's doing that right now. He's in the fastest car. No one can complain. No one can complain compared to what Owen was doing when George was upset about it back in season 11. Because Owen was not in the fastest car. It was the 3rd or 4th fastest car Owen was winning with. George is doing it with the fastest car. That's the difference. But what George is doing has to be really given a lot of credit. It's greatness here in tier 2, and we all have to be happy about it. Should he be moved to tier 1? That's up for debate, and I'll leave that for you guys to settle. I don't think so, though. But I'd like to see him have the chance, at least. I'll make that known. So, our second debate question now becomes, will Red Bull's new lineup be better compared to the old lineup? If you weren't with us, Foles and Goatley, the 2 new Red Bull drivers, were racing for VCarb, and those guys were accused by the previous Red Bull drivers of Uri and Turbo of sabotaging the academy. Well, Foles, I think, was just short of a pole back in Spa 2 seasons ago when he made his debut. Zandvoort, he finished P4 in an Alpine, and in the McLaren, I don't know if he got a pole or not, but he raced in that academy last season and helped out George big time in Imola. He was incredible with his potential, but will that change now with it being the Red Bull? It's a different car, different handling car, and he was behind Goatley in our first 2 races a lot when we were racing on track. Maybe the Red Bull will suit him a bit better, but that's the big thing in comparison to the Uri and Turbo lineup. Foles has a lot of potential, and he's going to be the guy we should watch out for. Goatley definitely did well enough in the VCarb to show us that he can do well too, but I think that car really suits him, the VCarb. The Red Bull didn't suit him as much in tier 3. I think he'll do good, Goatley, but I think Foles will do great. Maybe Foles can get his first career win finally in that Red Bull, and maybe that's what Red Bull is missing compared to the Uri and Turbo lineup. This lineup does seem to be a bit better in terms of a chance for a race win Overall, in terms of the constructors, I feel like it's going to be about the same. I don't know if Goatley's going to do well or disappoint. We'll see if he delivers, and we'll find out in Portugal with that. But very interesting changes now with Uri and Turbo not in the league anymore. It's sad to see them go, but that's a part of life. It happens. People come and go, and that can be said really about anything. So, now with F2 going to our next round in Miami, you gotta wonder, is Skither the title favorite? I completely forgot he was full-time this season just because we didn't have an F2 lineup released. Yeah, he is the favorite for the title. 3 of the first 4 races he's won, and he's been on it. He's been on it. It doesn't matter if this guy has practice, no practice, what the case is. He just always finds a way to win. Now, he needs to show up to every single race this season because that's exactly what lost him the title last season. This good form is just going to continue. I mean, you'll probably have Reese, maybe, who's doing some part-time F2 races. Maybe Egg. Maybe Jack. Luke. Maybe some guy getting their first career win, which we'll talk about in the next topic. Maybe stealing a win or 2 off of Skither. But nonetheless, even if they steal a win off him, he'll still be 2nd or 3rd. And what that will do is continue to extend his championship lead on the rival Jack, who beat him to the title the last 2 seasons. Again, Skither just needs to show up. That's his only thing that is changing him winning the championship or not. And home race for him now. Florida native. Good to see what he could do in Miami. Speaking of Miami, could we see a first-time winner this week? Could we see a first-time winner this season? If so, who is going to be the most likely candidate to do this? Well, I'm going to say a big surprise and someone who's been signed to a contract just recently, and I'm going to say that's Raza Gamer. Raza Gamer could probably become our next first-time winner in RPL F2, and here's why. In the first 4 races, feature and sprint included both for Silverstone and Spain, he has finished in the range of 5th to 7th. But he started 11th and 12th in all of those races. So what I wonder is if he can just find a good qualifying lap, get it nailed, everything he needs to do, can he end up starting on a reverse grid pole and then doing the job? He's got a lot of pace, it seems, but cannot set a qualifying lap to save his life. If he can do that, then I think the victory will go his way. And the only other guy I can think of maybe being the next first-time winner, if it's not Raza Gamer, is Goatley. Goatley came shy in Silverstone but had the penalty. 4th in Miami last season. We are going to get a first-time winner this season, in my opinion. Is it 1? Is it 2? Probably going to be 1. But I must say, if it's anybody, expect it, in my opinion, to be Raza Gamer. Goatley's a shout. I'm not going to deny him from that. Midfield Maestro, Skither's teammate, maybe, I think, or ex-teammate, either one. I forget this whole entire F2 lineup. That's why I said Jack was going to be champion, because I completely forgot Skither was in the lineup. Maestro is someone who could also sneak in a win, too. That's only if we have a 3rd first-time winner, but we're going to probably see 1 this season. And if anybody does it, it's Raza Gamer. I will say F2's definitely got the interesting lineups in terms of driver pairings and potentials there, but we'll talk about that later at some point next week or maybe during our races. I probably won't be there for F2 this week. Anyway, on to RPL F1, and now we're going to talk about Leo Lund, the man who some say can win in Williams, and I would love to see him go to a Haas just to see if he can win in a Haas. Haas have actually never had a Tier 1 podium, and if he could do that, that would be historic. I would love to see that, but the main thing before Leo Lund does any of that is going to be clinching the title. How early could and should Leo Lund clinch the title? Well, I'm going to look at our calendar in our last 5 races. Portugal, China, Vegas, Brazil, and Abu Dhabi. Last season, it was, I believe, the 3rd to last round, maybe the 4th to last round Leo Lund claimed it. But he missed like 3 or 4 races, though, prior to that. If Leo Lund makes every race, and he's doing currently everything he's doing at the rate he's doing it, he's going to win this title probably almost as early as Luke did back in Season 3. And there, back in Season 3, I think it was the same amount of Grand Prix, maybe just one more. I don't remember off the top of my head, but it could realistically be anywhere from the round 13 to round 16 range, assuming Leo Lund makes every Grand Prix. Singapore's round 13, Portugal's round 16. I'm thinking that's probably the earliest he can claim it, but he's in an Aston Martin. If he has races where it does not go his way and he doesn't show up at some point as well, I could see it being claimed at Vegas as well, where that's round 18. Again, if Leo Lund does claim the title early, I don't expect it to be the penultimate round, but I expect it to be the third to last round if he misses races, and then if it's before then, probably, like I said, anywhere from round 13 to 16. I think Leo Lund will probably claim it earlier this time if he shows up to every race before he claims it. And our last debating topic before the next Grand Prix in Australia, the fake TB with his P2 finish in Jeddah, 4th Jeddah podium, claims his 52nd. What does that mean now for TB? That is the debate here that we're bringing for this topic. And I think it means that his Season 8 championship is not under the radar as much as it was in the past. I think you look at past champions and say, oh, I forgot that TB won a championship. I forgot that Mally won a championship, just because of how long ago it was and just because of everything that has happened since. And you could even forget that Ding has won a championship at times. But I think the fake TB's championship should not be under the radar as much as it was. Season 8, he had one of the most consistent seasons, but he didn't have any more than 6 consecutive podiums at one time. He'd get 4 or 5, maybe miss a race, or maybe miss a race off of the podium, and then go back to doing the same thing over and over again. He won, I think, 3 to 5 races that season. Not a lot at all compared to prior champions. I'm trying to think. I think it was only 3 or 4, but TB did not win a lot that season, but he stayed consistently on the podium, and that was what was needed. I don't think he's going to win the championship compared to Leo Lund. Not going to happen. But he's in the best car. He should consistently be scoring podiums, and maybe he continues that podium streak. He's currently on a consecutive point streak, 13 in a row. So you go back to Season 8, that consistent form. Maybe not consecutive podiums, but enough to win the title. Not a lot of wins, but just consistency. Season 9, he started off well, then got demoted from Red Bull. Then he was teammates with Minico and at Alpine. And I'm not going to say it wasn't great. It was good. But he always was just under the radar and just right there. Now he's doing more. Season 11. In the V-Carb. Doing better than Reese and at times Cookie. What TB was doing earned himself a Red Bull spot full time again. And he was consistently on the podium alongside Leo and Jack. Now, no qualifying ban. Fights with Leo Lund. Broke away from the rest of the pack. What TB's P2 finish should mean now, that everyone sees it in full display, is that his championship should have never been under the radar the way it was, and honestly, he deserves a lot more credit in his RPL career. Doing what he did last season, the V-Carb, showed a lot, and now doing what he's doing now is continuing to show even more. I think he's probably just about as good of a driver as Reese, maybe better in a way, in an RPL career sense. Both have a championship, both have just about the same amount of podiums. Reese has more wins. TB has less poles, but the thing that TB has compared to Reese that's different, and I think they have very similar careers in their own way. Reese is ahead in certain stats, TB is ahead in certain categories, or even in other categories. But the thing that TB has is no matter what car he goes to, similar to Jack, he just always seems to put it on the podium, put it up there, maybe outperform it. He probably should have had a podium in an Alpine a few seasons ago. But nonetheless, what TB is doing right now is great. He probably could go on his best podium streak run, and I think it will happen. What it means now is that this consistency for TB is probably showing us that this is the best form he's been on since Season 8, and maybe, I would say right now it's the second best form he's been on since the start of Season 11. He might pass that best form if he can just fight with Leo Lund for a victory at some point. I think he did in Jeddah, but nonetheless, great stuff. And TB deserves more credit. Again, always going under the radar, always being right there in the sights for the victory a lot, even maybe when he shouldn't be, but very good stuff from TB. I'm very impressed. So let us know what you folks think of the topics and give us your thoughts heading into this weekend's races in RPL and all the tiers. And let us know what you think of the topics we went through. Do you agree with some of the things I said? Do you disagree? What do you think? Whether it be TB's current run of form, Skither's chance for the title in F2, Red Bull's new lineup, and maybe some of the drivers who maybe are not in the right tier. George for tier 2, F1 Shorts, Alex Norris, and Devin for tier 3. Tell us what you think, folks. Until next time, we will be saying goodbye, but we hope to see you this weekend for the up-and-coming races. Ryan Searles, your commentator, signing off. We'll see you again.